Well, g'day and welcome to another episode of the HSEQ Leaders Podcast. I'm Simon Roberts with us today. G'day, Simon. How are you going?
Hey there, John. Good, mate. How are you?
Good, good. Simon, we've known each other now for quite some time. Perhaps for those that don't know you, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah, my name's Simon Roberts. I'm the founder of ESH2U, a company that's dedicated to enabling safety excellence to thrive within the C-suite. Prior to establishing ESH2U, I spent the last 25 years or so deliberately working in a variety of roles within different sectors and locations across Australia and overseas in an effort to have a broad base as possible within the OHS field, but still have that deep technical skill set. And around the last 15, 16 odd years, I've led teams of various sizes and really enjoy the challenges associated with creating highly effective teams to deliver services that can materially improve a company's performance, whether that be in safety or other areas.
Brilliant. The consulting is relatively new. You've worked across multiple sectors as well. We'll probably dive into that perhaps a little bit further on. But who are you outside of work? Tell us that the non-professional side of yourself in that sense.
Yeah, so outside of my professional capacity, I really enjoy spending time with my wife and daughter. We love our cruising. So we recently did a cruise in the Great Barrier Reef. We like experiencing different parts of the world and the cultures that go with it. And I guess I've had the privilege to travel to many different countries, and I really feel that's enabled me to quickly connect with people. And outside of the health and safety space, I'm also involved in non-for-profit activities and sit on a couple of boards as well as various committees. So enjoy giving back to the community that way.
Brilliant. So you, if you could, everyone has a different journey into safety, but how did you get into it?
Yeah, so look, I wasn't really too flash at school. I did just scrape through year 12, but wasn't able to get into university. And, there was a level of disappointment there. But after chatting with my family and some other relatives, I identified that, I could move into a trade. So I got into a pre-apprenticeship boiler making down at Fremantle TAFE. And that really was the trigger. Within that, there was a unit on health and safety, and that sparked my interest. And then I was able to move out of that location, and then I went to TAFE, and which is right next to Curtin University, and I did my associate diploma and diploma there. And then I was able to get across to university, where I finished off my Bachelor of Science. So that was my foray into health and safety. And so I was really lucky. I was able to get a job with an EPCM company, a large organization out of the States who was doing work in Australia. And that enabled me to then move with them and find opportunities in Canada. So I worked for the same company over there and worked in the oil sands up in Fort McMurray in Alberta. And then from there, after about 6 years or so, I returned to Australia and then did a lot of work in oil and gas and mining, and then recently finished up with Fortescue Energy, working on all the green energy projects. So that was really exciting, and was fantastic to see some of the things that they've done recently. The Green Pioneer at COP28 was really great to see.
And we'll probably come back to, I guess, your most recent experience, but for someone that I guess didn't take the traditional university path, or what I would say is the traditional university path now, you have a doctor's degree as well. I should have introduced you as Dr. Roberts. I apologise.
That's fine, mate. All good.
I'm sorry. I'm not doing the right thing by you, not introducing you in the right level. But how important do you think it is? I mean, there's not many people that have the journey to a PhD from that from that start. How important do you think, I guess, tertiary education, continuous improvement or continuous self-improvement is for yourself?
Yeah, look, one of the biggest learnings with respect to my younger self, that if people listening, is understand that people learn in different ways. It took me a really long time to understand that. The way that I learned was significantly different to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so be patient, find your pathway, don't give up. Kind of like the pieces of advice that I would be giving people who are heading out in the journey within health and safety. Other things that I would talk about would be, don't be afraid to ask the dumb questions. What I found is that if you ask people the dumb questions, generally there's people around you that are thinking the same thing, but not comfortable with expressing it. So I've always been one to just stick the hand up and say, hey, I don't really get that, and how can you learn? How can you help me understand this, or can you rephrase that in a different way? And then the other pieces around recognizing that I'm actually understanding it. So as we leave a discussion, it's like, let me just rephrase that. Have I got this right? And I think another area is around, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. Earlier on in my career, I was more, talking than listening. And I think if I was able to go back in time and reset and go out on the journey again, I'll do a little bit more listening, as well as reading, like reading a wide variety of different books and getting an understanding of different things that motivate people and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, brilliant. And talking about, I guess, motivation, we'll come back to that, but you're giving advice there, I guess, to people earlier on in their career. What do you look for when you're trying to build teams and when you're hiring safety professionals yourself in the past?
Yeah, I think in terms of advice for safety professionals, uh, I need to premise my bias in this due to my experience. You touched upon it, and it might ruffle some feathers, but my advice to safety professionals is to actually look outside of your immediate profession. Like really understanding that although safety is important, it's only one part of an overall business. And businesses, no matter how big or small, have competing interests. And safety, in my opinion, needs to be working hand in hand with other parts of the business, and not be put on a pedestal as the most important thing. And don't get me wrong, safety is important, but I can't hand on my heart say it's the number one. Because if it was, we wouldn't really be doing too much because it'd be all too risky. So everything that we do comes down to some level of risk associated with it. So understanding those boundaries is important, and building some extra capacity so no one operates. So you kind of just operating below that edge of failure, So it's really important to understand that safety is not the be all and end all, and businesses need to stay viable. And also knowing how to respond when things go wrong is really important. And sometimes that response is actually doing nothing. A lot of times you see these knee-jerk reactions to events occurring, and creates a lot of chaos within a business versus just sitting, absorbing what's occurred. And sometimes the right thing to do is to actually take no action. So that can be a challenge, especially when a lot of safety professionals are very solutions focused.
So, Simon, as a hiring manager in the past, what do you look for when you're hiring safety professionals into your team or into a business?
Yeah, that's a good question. Look, first off, I don't hire someone to fill the immediate role. I'm actually looking at what potential that person can bring to the team in future roles. So, for example, a superintendent, a manager, or a replacement for myself as part of succession planning. So I also look at things those professionals do outside of work. Are they volunteering somewhere? Are they a mentor to someone? Do they coach a team? Are they on a school committee? These are those interpersonal skills that are really important. And again, look, hate to be biased in this, but is there any evidence of ongoing learning? micro credentials are available, postgraduate courses within safety or other areas. So those are the things that I look at when hiring.
Oh, brilliant. Do you think working in different industries has helped with that understanding rather than being siloed? I mean, is there value in that, would you say?
Oh, like for me, again, my bias is coming out here. I've worked in construction, I've worked in mining, I've worked in oil and gas, I've worked for the regulator. And really that experience with the regulator gave me exposure to small and medium-sized enterprises. And that is where I think, within a WA context, West Australian context, we've got big resources companies here, and they have the money to implement different things. But where I see the biggest challenge is in that small and medium-sized enterprise, because you have a person who's running a business, running payroll, looking after the workforce, getting out there, trying to generate business. It's super, super challenging. And I really feel for those small and medium-sized enterprises that, it is complicated trying to implement and follow all the things that regulators want us to follow. It's a huge challenge, especially when you don't have a dedicated resource to do that work.
Yeah. And I guess as well, the cost associated of having a dedicated resource, it's prohibitive for a lot of small to medium businesses.
Yes, yeah. And that's, an area that I think later on, I'd say next 5-10 years as technology takes over, we'll see a bit of a shift towards more of a gig economy type support structure with respect to health and safety services.
Hmm. We'll go back again on that as well, but leadership, you are a leader within the industry. You've branched off now into your own business, but what is leadership to you? You're obviously dealing with leaders on the other side now. So talk me around that. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, look, it's a 24/7 operation for me. Every day, my actions, behaviors impact on my immediate family. And then there's your leadership behaviors that impact within the workplace. And over the years, that's something I've worked really hard at to try and improve. And, if I give any guidance, anyone who cares to listen, I tell them, check out Manager Tools, managetools.com. I came across this website back in around 2007, 2008, and it really helped me unpack what it's required to be a good leader and a manager. And they really step you through that process. And I love it. I love the tools that are available. And over time, for me, I've also undertaken further studies. So I did a master's in business leadership post doing my master's in occupational health and safety, because within that course, they talked a lot about leadership, and I need to learn more about that. So I did my master's in business leadership at Curtin Graduate School of Business. And then within the business leadership piece, they talked about finance. So then I thought, well, I need to know a little bit more about that. And that's when I went and did my MBA. And then I was like, wow, what's going on here? None of this stuff talks. And that's when I went and did my doctorate in business administration, tying it all together. So over the course of, that kind of like 12, 14-year period where I was working full time, studying full time, my leadership style's changed. It really has. And what I think the one thing that's really worked well for me, and it kind of comes back to the manager's tools, is just setting up the space to have conversations with your direct reports and enabling that time. So for me, it's always, one-on-ones with all my direct reports, carving out half an hour to an hour. It's not all about the work. It's like, what's going on at home? What can I do? How can I assist you to grow and be better at what you do day to day? And so they're kind of like the key things that I've been working at over the last 20 odd years or so.
So you said managertools.com. Is that
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Managertools.com. I think they've got an app and everything. It's really fantastic. Set of resources there. And look, I don't get any commission off these guys. It's just something that's helped me out over the years. And it's it provides really succinct information and
Mhm.
how to implement stuff,
Yeah,
which
brilliant.
is one of the challenges that you see out there. Is a lot of information is provided, but it's like, okay, how do I actually do this for real? So
Yeah.
they step you through that. So it's quite good.
Yeah, brilliant. I actually haven't heard of that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check that
Yeah.
out. Check that out myself. But have you also, I mean, aside from that, and aside from learning and developing yourself, have you had any particular interests or influences on you that have helped you develop through your career?
Yeah, I think there's the professional piece and there's the personal piece. Um, my wife, who I met 17 years ago, has just been a massive influence on my career and how I look at the world. She's the first person in her family to graduate from university, first person from her family to live overseas, and it really inspired me to do more. And that's also inspired her, um, cousins, etc., to take that next step. It's always that one person needs to just take the lead, and then others will follow. And for me, the education piece is massive, and she recognised that growing up, and fulfilled that goal. And she's inspired so many of her family members. So my wife, number one, on a professional level, there's some people I've worked with over the last, I'd say last decade, who've had a real impact on the way I look at things. And one of those people is Klaus Hoffer, who um, has this company that looks at what's called usability mapping. So taking documents and making them easier for the end user. And I came across this 2014, 15. And by then, 15 odd years in health, I was just absolutely blown away by, this product. It just resonated with me, and I'm just asked the question, why isn't everyone doing this?
Hmm.
And so that's actually now endorsed by the Australian Institute of Health and Safety. So the training is endorsed. And one of the things prior to leaving an oil and gas company is we got their global life-saving rules changed and adopted and usability mapped. And when you went out in the field and asked the people, I was in Houston, and I was in Canada, going out to the actual people doing the work and saying, here's document A, here's document B. Document B's been usability map. Which do you find easier to follow? And everyone pointed to, document B. So, Klaus has had a huge influence, and also doing work with the guys, in the HOP space, human and organizational performance. So, Todd Conklin, I did a piece of work with him, and just learning from them, the likes of Sydney Decker. It was very, he marked my confirmation of candidature paper prior to submitting, so gave me some feedback. So, you see these people who are like out there trying to make a difference, and they're giving back to the community, and that's what I'm trying to do myself. So, and I guess another person I got to give a shout out to is my clinical professor, Dr. Chan Chia. Back in April 2022, I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and I was able to get on a clinical trial with Dr. Chia, and fully recovered and just monitoring now. And that's kind of the impetus to why I've gone out on my own and setting up EHS2U and to give back. It's like, if not now, when, right? So they're kind of like the personal and the professional relationships that I really value.
Oh, brilliant. And we sort of touched on this earlier, so to come back to it, where do you see the future being? You talked about AI, which is always a hot button topic,
Mm-hmm.
and you've talked about, I guess, a lot of the hop stuff as well that's coming in, and how businesses are moving that direction. Where do you see it going?
Yeah, look, I mean, in terms of where the profession's evolving to, one resource your listeners can go to is the Occupational Health and Safety Body of Knowledge, otherwise known as the BOC. And there's an actual chapter on this topic. Dave Proven was instrumental in contributing to that chapter, and that's another example of resources that are available, but not a huge amount of OHS professionals actually know that this stuff exists, within Australia or globally, right? And that's really important to get that information out there. And that's another reason why I've recently become the registrar for the Australian Occupational Health and Safety Education Accreditation Board, is to try and help with that and get an understanding that these resources are out there and free. And, as I mentioned earlier, I think, technology, as it becomes embraced more and more, I think we'll see the administrative type activities be taken over, replaced by automated processes. And then overall, I think this will lead to a bit of a shift in the type of work OHS professionals will undertake. And as I said earlier, I think a move towards like a gig type economy where specialists will be brought in on an as needs basis and complete discrete pieces of work for a company, rather than having, full-time dedicated employees all the time. So it'd be more, picking and choosing, those skills as required. And I think with that, we'll see, things like the Global Reporting Initiative and sustainability. We'll see a lot more of roles shifting towards assurance and governance, as governments all around the world continue to add more reporting requirements on companies, whether that's good or bad. I'll leave that up to people to make their own decision. But for me, that's kind of where I see the industry moving towards.
I absolutely agree. I think in the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to see that shift towards the governance piece overarching it. And we're already sort of starting to see that in some organizations, but I think that will be a big driver. So absolutely agree. Just while we've got you though, so I think it's important for those that don't know, talk us about, this other involvement that you have now as the registrar there from an education piece, for those that don't know.
Yeah, so the Australian Occupational Health and Safety Education Accreditation Board is a group of people from both the education sector, public sector, industry. And what the board does, if universities want to get their OHS degrees accredited, masters, grad dip, etc., they apply and go through the review process. And so that's done on a 5-yearly basis. And then there's also annual updates. So you have a team, an external party who review all the coursework associated with that program and then provide feedback. And then the AIHS accredits, or ACO accredits it. And it's all part of the Australian Institute of Health and Safety. So just updated the website. I think we can put some links into wherever we put them for your listeners. And, they can have a look at that. So it just provides you a snapshot. If you're looking to do any postgraduate work, etc., it gives you a snapshot of which universities have been accredited. Now, not all universities are accredited, but at least it's a starting point to go for information.
Absolutely. Well, we will put a few of those links that we've discussed today, and a link to your profile as well. So thanks a lot for coming on our latest podcast, short and sharp and incredibly insightful as always. So thank you very much, mate.
Thank you. Cheers. Appreciate it. Bye.
Talk soon.
Okay.